The budget graphics card market in 2026 is genuinely broken. Prices have gone sideways, official pricing means almost nothing, and half the buying guides online are quoting numbers that stopped being real months ago. So in this video I am going to walk through what a budget GPU actually costs right now, how much video memory you really need, and the specific cards worth your money in August 2026. Rule number 1, and everything else depends on it. Manufacturer suggested pricing is fiction right now. Across the RTX 50 series, median street prices have climbed as much as 39% in a single month, and the gap between the sticker and the shelf is now enormous. When someone tells you a card costs a certain amount, ask whether that is the suggested price or the price you can actually pay today. Here is the clearest example. The RTX 5060 Ti 16GB launched with a suggested price around $430. Its median street price in August is $805. That is roughly 88% above where it was supposed to sit. Same card, same silicon, nearly double the money. Second thing to settle before you shop, video memory. The honest answer in 2026 is that 8 gigs is the floor. It still works fine for 1080p gaming if you keep textures on high rather than ultra, and most current titles stay inside that budget. But it does struggle at 1440p, and in newer open-world games with high-resolution texture packs. 12 gigs is the number I would actually aim for. It is the recommended minimum for 1440p, and if you plan to keep this card for 3 years or more it is the safer buy. 16 gigs is where you want to be if this build needs to last past 2027, or if you are gaming above 1440p. With that settled, here is my number 1 pick, and it is not close. The Intel Arc B580. $249 suggested, and unlike almost everything else on the market you can actually find it near that price. 12 gigs of memory, 20 cores, 456 GB per second of bandwidth. What makes the B580 special is not raw speed, it is that it is the one budget card that did not get swept up in the pricing chaos. It gives you 12 gigs at a price where competitors are still shipping 8. Reviewers have gone as far as calling it the best default choice for a new mainstream gaming PC this year, and I think that is fair. 2 caveats before you buy one. First, check your motherboard supports resizable bar and that it is switched on in the BIOS. ARC cards depend on it, and performance falls off noticeably without it. Second, Intel drivers have improved enormously but they are still the youngest of the three. If you play a lot of older or obscure titles, that is worth weighing. If your budget is tighter, the Arc B570 is $219. 10 gigs of memory, 18 cores, 380 GB per second, and it draws 150 watts. It is the sensible pick when its live price meaningfully undercuts the B580. When the gap is small, just buy the B580. Next, AMD's brand new entry. The Radeon RX 9050, announced at $279. 8 gigs on RDNA 4, 16 compute units, boost up to 2.6 GHz, and just 92 watts of board power. That low power figure matters more than people realize on a budget build. 92 watts means no power supply upgrade, no giant case, and no worries in a small form factor build. You also get 3rd generation ray tracing, AV1 encode and decode, and full FSR support. The catch is that $279 is the suggested price, and with memory costs where they are, expect North American and European street prices to land higher. On the Nvidia side at the entry level you have the RTX 5050, sitting around $315 median in August, up about 5% from June. It is 8 gigs. It has been one of the more stable cards in a very unstable market, and you do get DLSS 4, which is genuinely excellent. But compare it directly. $315 for 8 gigs, against $249 for 12 gigs on the B580. You are paying more money for less memory. DLSS 4 is better than the alternatives, but it does not close a 4 GB gap. For most people the Intel card is simply the better purchase. Moving up, the RTX 5060 is where things get murky. Depending on which tracker you check, it is anywhere from $340 to $470. That spread is not sloppy reporting, it is a real signal about how volatile this segment is right now. If you are considering one, check listings the same day you buy. If you can stretch further, the RX 9060 XT 16GB is the strongest pick above $300. Launch pricing was $349, street pricing is around $423 at the low end. But you get a full 16 gigs, and it benchmarks roughly 44% faster than the older RX 7600 XT. A quick word on the used market, because normally that is the budget answer. Not this year. Used RTX 50 series cards are now listing within 14% of new. The only two showing a conventional used discount are the 8GB 5060 and 5060Ti. Everywhere else you take on the risk of used hardware for almost no saving. One thing genuinely working in your favor is upscaling. FSR4, CSS and DLSS4 have changed what a cheap card can do. Settings that would have been out of reach on this hardware 2 years ago are now completely playable. When you read benchmarks, check whether upscaling was on, because it changes the numbers dramatically. 2 practical things before you spend. Check your power supply has the right connectors and enough headroom, and make sure your processor is not going to bottleneck the card. And use a live price tracker rather than a buying guide, because guides written 3 months ago are quoting a market that no longer exists. So, the summary. Under $250, by the Intel Arc B580, it is the clear value winner. Tighter than that, the B570 at $219. Want low power in a small build, the RX 9050. Can stretch past $300, the RX 9060 XT 16GB. And avoid the 5060T 16GB at $800 until that price comes back to earth. That is the budget market as it actually stands in August 2026. Prices are moving fast, so if you are watching this later, verify before you buy. That is it from Bench and Bracket, daily briefs on hardware, prices, and builds. Follow if this was useful.